Welcome to how to get your ATC ready to implement CorePass. This video is aimed at trained administrators at an IPSQA accredited testing center. In this short video we will walk through what you need to do to ensure your ATC is ready to offer assessment against IPSQA CorePass standard. We will cover how to get set up as an administrator in our cloud database ITM, how to notify IPSQA so that we can designate an assessor for a CorePass standard, how to ensure you maintain quality assurance requirements by using appropriate assessment tools, and finish off with how CorePass is different from our other certification products. Let's get started with making sure you as the ATC administrator is set up on the ITM database. The first step is having the administrator complete the online training. A fee may apply. Then the ATC Principal Executive Officer sending an official email to IPSQA to nominate the person to be designated administrator for their organization. This should include their full name and unique work email address. IPSQA then will set them up with administration privileges in the ITM system. Administrators can only be designated to one ATC at a time. This is important as when the administrator generates certificates, it links certificate fees to the respective ATC and determines the ATC logo and details that are printed on the certificate. Within the ITM database, ATCs are set up as organizational groups. The administrator then needs to ensure the assessors they have associated with them have the appropriate designations for the standards they assess and that copies of the assessor's credentials are uploaded in ITM. If the assessor needs assessor designation for a CorePass, the administrator emails info@ipsqa.com to request the designation to be added. IPSQA headquarters will check that documentation has been uploaded on the assessor's profile and if so, will add the respective CorePass designation. If you are using external or freelance assessors that are not associated with a global shared record org group, contact us so we can associate them with your ATC org group, which then allows you to see their record and allocate them to assessment events. Finally, before CorePass assessments are offered, the administrator needs to ensure the ATC is using an assessment tool that covers the requirements of the standard. Let's look at the quality assurance aspects of CorePass. CorePass is a simplified assessment system that does not require a formal IPSQA prescribed assessment checklist, IPS 001. However, ATCs still must have mechanisms in place to ensure candidates are sufficiently briefed before undertaking a CorePass assessment. Understand their details are shared with IPSQA and held on our ITM database. ATCs must also have their own appeals process for CorePass assessment that directs the candidate to the ATC in the first instance. Though ATCs do not have to submit their assessment tools for pre-approval, they are responsible for ensuring they use assessment tools that meet the requirements of the CorePass standard. ATCs should carry out some form of internal moderation or mapping to ensure the tools they use are compliant to the IPSQA standard. However, if they are using an assessment tool that has been approved for use for an external standard that has been mapped to an IPSQA CorePass standard, that approval should be considered sufficient. As shown in this screenshot, standard mapping approvals are found under Documents. Designations can only be processed by IPSQA headquarters, but for CorePass we just need a notification from the ATC administrator to add this to an assessor's ITM profile. Whereas for our other certification products, designations are reviewed by technical experts. Remember, the ATC must be confident that the assessor has the required experience and credentials to be an assessor for the respective standard. These credentials should be uploaded under the assessor's ITM profile, under Documents. These documents will be viewed by IPSQA headquarters when processing a CorePass designation notification. For CorePass, once the assessment has been completed, the ATC must retain evidence of the assessment. Often the standard practice of keeping copies of candidate exams or observation checklists is sufficient, and this can be retained locally by the ATC. If only a portion of candidate evidence is retained, ensure at least 5% is kept. That is, for every 20 candidates assessed there should be at least one full set of candidate assessment evidence available for quality assurance purposes such as audit and post-assessment moderation. To avoid dual compliance, this evidence does not need to be uploaded to ITM as we want to make compliance robust but easier to administer. Finally, in addition to any other evidence retained for quality assurance, copies of all completed CorePass checklists or CPCs must be retained and made available if requested. Locally retained evidence must be held for at least 12 months. CorePass is simple and easy to implement. It is aimed at community and industry skills that help create a safe and secure nation. As CorePass is not ISO 17024 certified, it does not require independent assessment. That means the assessor can also be the candidate's teacher or trainer prior to assessment. For the purposes of administration, we refer to CorePass assessment requirements as Part D, which covers knowledge and skills. With CorePass, no verified experience is required, but it still is an assessment-only system. Within the ITM database, though CorePass is the only product that uses the attendance and objective delivery function, this is just a workaround for database purposes to keep it separate from our ISO-compliant products. IPSQA assessors must still be used, and the ATC administrator is responsible for ensuring the assessors have the respective designation to assess the CorePass standard. Unlike our ISO products, evidence does not need to be uploaded to ITM, and you do not need to take photographic or video evidence of the candidate's performance. And with candidates' ITM profile, they do not need to have an identification photograph before a CorePass certification is generated. Finally, ATCs can carry out recognition of prior learning or RPL for CorePass standards. Evidence such as mapping must still be retained locally and made available for quality assurance purposes. ATCs are not permitted to carry out RPL for our ISO products, as these are only done by IPSQA headquarters. Now you should know how to get your ATC ready to offer CorePass. Next, we will show you how to undertake pre-event administration in ITM for CorePass in Module 6.2, and after that we will show you how to undertake post-event administration in Module 6.3. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about the IPSQA CorePass. Reach out to us today to see how we can make certification simple.